Hi, this is Sean Perrin, and you're listening to episode 31 of the Clarineat Podcast, the show where I discuss all that's neat and new with clarinet with the neatest people in the industry. In today's episode, I speak with the Australian-born Elena Xanthudakis, who is the director of Chroma Editions. Elena is also a professional opera singer who studied in Australia, Italy, and at London's Guildhall. She is the winner of many international prizes, including the International Mozart Competition in Salzburg. While maintaining a busy career singing in opera houses around the world, Elena has managed to develop her special connection to the world of clarinet as well, inspired by her brother Jason, who is the clarinetist in their trio called Trio Chroma. Her continuing interest in song repertoire with obligato instruments led her to create Chroma Editions, which is a special chamber music publishing house with the vision to make more great repertoire available to play for all. The giveaway for this episode is a signed copy of Elena and Jason's new CD called The Captive Nightingale. If you'd like to make sure you're eligible to win items mentioned on the podcast, please visit Clarineat.com and be sure to sign up for our email mailing list. This episode was brought to you by D'Addario Woodwinds. Sanding, shaping, balancing. For centuries, mastering your instrument meant mastering these crafts too. But now, D'Addario is refining craftsmanship for the 21st century by refining their reeds and mouthpieces with the world's most innovative techniques, so you can spend less time sanding, shaping, and balancing, and more time perfecting your own craft. To learn more about the new era of craftsmanship from D'Addario Woodwinds, visit D'Addario.com/woodwinds. Hi, Elena, and welcome to the Clarineat Podcast. It's so great to have you on the show today.
Oh, thanks so much. It's great to be here.
So we should dive right in and talk about your exciting new project, which is called an album called The Captive Nightingale, and it's actually some pieces that you're featuring on there that have been rediscovered German romantic rarities, and some of these pieces have been recorded for the first time. All of the pieces are for clarinet and voice, and I'd be so interested for you to share the story of how this recording project got started and how these pieces were discovered and what brings you to want to share them with the world.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. I, as a singer, I'm a soprano. I have stumbled across, the German songs, the 6 German songs by Spohr, and I've performed The Shepherd on the Rock, and I really enjoyed that. And I have an elder brother who happens to play the clarinet. And when I was at university, I had, friends that have a trio and that sort of thing. So I sort of fell in love with the combination of piano, voice, and clarinet. And so basically what I wanted to do was I started a trio with my brother called Trio Chroma, and the idea was to find repertoire that hadn't been recorded before with a view of making a recording with him. So I basically was trying to see what had been recorded, had been published. Some of the things had been recorded but not published, and some things had, I was looking for something that hadn't been recorded before to make it something exciting. So I basically went, different universities, looking, trying to find things that I'd seen other people do to find an interesting mix of songs. So that's the basics behind, a project for my brother and I, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's so great that your brother Jason is also on the album. I think it's interesting to have family involved in an ensemble like this. Did it present any challenges, or you guys get along pretty swimmingly, or how was that?
Yeah, we get along pretty well, actually. He always says, "Oh, singers, singers, singers," but you don't breathe there. Anyway, it's all the normal stuff. But no, it's good fun, and I've always, appreciated his musicality. And since he's the elder brother, he sort of ushered a way for me into music, because I went to the same music high school that he went to. It's a music specialist school, so followed in my big brother's footsteps. So. Yeah, a real kind of inspiration to me as a kid, and he's an amazing musician. Also he plays saxophone as well, and that sort of thing. So, I wanted to work with him on something that's a project for us. And in preparing the repertoire, we formed this trio with Clemens Lesky, who's an Australian concert pianist. And my reason behind choosing him was because one of the pieces that I had found was called The Shepherd and the Mermaid, and has quite a very florid piano part. And so I needed somebody who could give that with, pizzazz and make it sound amazing. I mean, it's an amazing piece, but just somebody who could just have a lot of flair. And my brothers had worked with Clem a lot in recitals, because when he was at the Sydney Conservatorium. So, yeah, it's a kind of, we've worked together a lot in recitals over the years, and we've got a nice feel together. So I hope that comes across in the recording.
Absolutely. I love hearing about studio sessions. I'm not quite sure why, but where was the album recorded, and were there any interesting stories or challenges that you encountered along the way?
Yeah, it was recorded at the Trackdown Studios in Sydney, which is actually where they record a lot of the movie soundtracks.
In
There's this
Australia?
in Australia, yeah. So
Oh,
what I
wow.
wanted was a studio that I didn't want to do it in a tiny room that had no natural acoustic. I wanted something that had a bit of length, that had a bit of natural resonance to it. So I wanted something that felt like a concert hall, but not as expensive. So, mind you, Trackdown's certainly not a cheap venue to hire, but I just wanted something with a little bit of ambience to the tone, and had a nice bunch of people who've worked for the ABC Classics and other on my team. So yeah, I was really happy with how things came together actually.
So you've performed many large-scale operas and other works yourself, and actually have a very busy career as a soprano. Some people who go this route never look back to small ensembles, and I think partly because it's absolutely so busy. But what is it about art song and chamber music that not only draws you in, but continues to demand so much of your artistic focus in this way?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, being an opera singer, you do get very busy, and agents love to just book you out for whole slabs of time because it's great. You just book them out, and don't have to think about organizing other things. It's wonderful. But in terms of where my heart lies, and I really do love, performing oratorio and lieder, that sort of smaller ensemble work.
Hmm.
Be it Bach cantatas, those sorts of things, and that's really where I started before I moved into, the opera. I did my first master's in performance, basically was around, Bach and chamber music and lieder. So, I think as a young singer, it's a great safe place to start actually. And again, the Maria Callas competition, which I won in the oratorio and lieder section. So kind of there's an interest there that I've always enjoyed doing it. And in terms of the chamber music stuff, again, all throughout university, I was with a group with a bass clarinet and a clarinet and a piano and a soprano, and we would arrange like Mozart nocturnes for that ensemble, and we would like just arrange Piazzolla songs, and take this around the state of Victoria on tour, concerts every weekend, sort of thing. So, yeah, I've always had an interest in small groups, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Was there any original music for that ensemble? I mean, you just said it was, sorry, bass clarinet, voice, and piano, and what was the other instrument?
Um, yeah, clarinet, bass clarinet, soprano, and piano. Yeah, most of them are just arrangements of things. So we did a lot of arranging of just all
Yeah,
sorts of things.
I think that the clarinet is such a vocal instrument. It has such a great match to voice. I know there is a lot of repertoire, well, maybe not a lot, but some repertoire out there for it. But I also feel like it's sometimes overlooked. How do you feel
Yeah.
about it? Do you
No,
enjoy
I absolutely agree. And I think, when you go and read the concert programs, even at the Wigmore, it's like, well, it's just the Shepherd and the Rock, you see, or it's just, the most obvious
Yeah,
works. And I think that's such a shame when there's so many amazing pieces. Well, I'm not going to say there's so many. I mean, I struggle to find 2 CDs worth of repertoire. Um, and to, in terms of what's out there, what's available. And that's what brought me to think, well, why aren't people performing, more repertoire? Because I found these wonderful pieces, and I want to popularize them. I want them to be out there in the concert halls because they deserve that. So yeah,
there
that's
are some
basically.
larger scale chamber pieces. Like I can think of L'Histoire de Soldat, the Stravinsky, the Père Lunaire.
Yeah.
That's a great one too.
Yeah, and there's also a sort of getting slightly, bigger. The Emily Dickinson songs are slightly bigger chamber ensemble, but yeah, there are things out there that, but I think for this as a trio format goes, it's my favorite, and yeah, there's not that much, that gets done. If you look on the concert programs, it's a piano trio. There's a pianist. There's a singer doing some opera gala stuff, and you'd be lucky to get, another solo instrumentalist on. If there was a concert program at a music society, if they do 4 concerts, they're not going to put necessarily this repertoire, and I think that's a shame. And you know, I think it's wholly deserves to be, right up there with everything else.
have you heard the new piece by Arvo Pärt? I think it's a clarinet, piano, and I think it's a tenor.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Yeah, I think it's relatively new. I'm trying to remember if it's like 2012 or 2014.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not sure, but yeah, I haven't even had a chance to really give it any serious listen yet. But I did see it the other day, and I was like, oh wow, that's kind of
Yeah, well,
interesting.
I also saw some recent recordings doing arrangements of some of the Strauss songs for
Hmm.
clarinet and voice and piano, which I think is a great idea. And I think there's room for particularly songs like Morgan for this sort of work to be done. And I'm hoping as well with the Chrome editions that we start bringing out some of the other pieces that have, solo violin part, like the Bachelet Cher et Nuit, which has a violin solo. Again, that would be amazing on
Mm-hmm.
clarinet. So yeah, there's room, the scope for this as well.
So let's get back to the album for a second here. A
Yeah.
lot of these pieces, there's 12 tracks, and a lot of them have been recorded before. But you mentioned some of these are new, some of these are freshly discovered. Could you give a little more information for listeners about that?
Yeah. So in terms of the recording itself, the Gefangene Nachtigall, the Captive Nightingale, from which the CD is entitled, and de Heiligste van Allen, the noblest of all, and actually the Hirt und das Meerweib, the Shepherd and the Mermaid, are three premiere recordings. So no one, in terms of availability, will have heard these before. It's the first time, and then we have also one that's only been recorded once before called the Schweizer's Heimweh. So two of those works are by Proch, who's quite an unknown composer. He did write, in fact, one particularly famous soprano work called, there's a set of variations for soprano, which is still in the repertoire today. Lachner, de Heiligste van Allen, you probably recognize the same text from the Schumann Frauenliebe und Leben cycle. So if you're aware of what other repertoire is out there, Lazarus and I think also Musica Rara published Seit ich ihn gesehen by Lachner probably about a decade ago. And so that's a really great pairing. Those two go together because it's from the same cycle of poems.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's one of the ones that's never been recorded before. And The Shepherd and the Mermaid is like a 7-minute showpiece by Peter von Lindpeitner. So again, that's about the I don't know how to describe it. The Lorelei story, essentially. So a soprano lures the clarinet to his untimely demise. But yeah, they've
a fitting track for the end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's great fun, that piece, actually. So yeah, and then the Schweizer's Heimweh, that's been recorded once before. So there's a mix of things that are popular in terms of the Shepherd and On the Rocks on there, and again, ones that we've had on a few recordings, I think, that Colin Bradbury put out, actually. So if you're aware of the repertoire that he's recorded. And a beautiful piece, again, which you might not be aware of, called Meine Heimat by Johann Sobek. That's been recorded once before as well. So, there's a mix of popular and more unknown things on there.
Yeah, no, there's some really great stuff. I've had a few listens through it, and it's really well done. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Was there a tour you guys had planned with this as well, or some CD kind of release concert, or have you marketed it in a live setting?
We had some in Australia when we brought it out there a couple of years ago, and then it's coming out here basically for a worldwide. I'm based in the UK, but it's on worldwide release. We are planning some things, but there'll be a little bit more for next year, just in terms of schedules and schedules. So yeah, no, definitely there will be some concerts coming out for that, but nothing planned as yet.
So one thing that's kind of on my mind, you mentioned you wanted to find a place that was relatively more affordable to record, but yet you're in London and you went to Australia. How does that add up?
I'm Australian born, so I go between the two for performances and that sort of thing. So yeah, my brother is in Australia and Clem's in Australia. So yeah, when I was over there, we recorded it. Yeah, that's how that works.
That makes quite a bit more sense, I must say.
Yeah.
So one of the things that always gets asked when people make a CD, especially if there's new repertoire on there, is, how can I play these pieces? Are they available for purchase? And you have actually started your own publishing house called Chroma Editions, which specializes for this type of music. Would you share some information about this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one thing, as you know, I'm really passionate about piano, voice, and clarinet. But then also, if you look for obligato instruments with voice and piano as well, these works are available for sometimes clarinet and cello, sometimes clarinet and violin, sometimes clarinet, cello, and violin. And the idea is that I really would love these pieces to, be out there, and if you can't find them, you can't play them. So we wanted to bring them out, and we've modernized the settings, that sort of thing, made it really clear and easy to read. And so what we're going to have them in a number of stores. Actually, we have them in only 2 stores in Canada so far. So I'll let you know as we go. It'll be on the website, which is going to be chromaeditions.com. And we'll have some hard copy versions of the 4 works I mentioned before, The Shepherd and the Mermaid, Schweizer's Heimweh, which is Longing for Switzerland, The Captive Nightingale, and der Herrlichste von allen, or He the Noblest of All. And then also there'll be some downloads as well. So you can download them, which should be up soon, the downloads. And then also we're planning to extend the range of obligato instruments. So in terms of a couple of them might suit oboe as well, and alto sax, that sort of thing. So there is room to expand that, because traditionally what would happen is there would be a printed score and maybe a violin score in C, and then from which, if you had, you could basically do a B flat instrument reading off that, or whatever you had at home, you would basically play.
So how were these scores originally discovered then? I mean, have you actually discovered them yourself through historical research, or?
Well, these ones here, in fact, for example, The Shepherd and the Mermaid came with a score with clarinet and violin. So at the moment, the ones that we're publishing are modernizations of what has been out of print for 200 years. So in terms of, they use a lot of the French rests where they go the wrong direction, the quaver rests. So they're quite hard to read and very difficult. So we've produced clean new editions of those. I found some in Vienna, I found some in London. So I've basically been collecting them, over a period of about 9 years, and I have quite a repertoire. So there will be other things coming out over the next couple of years as well. So for example, der Herrlichste von allen is for clarinet, cello, or violin. And those 3 parts were actually with the score. So the idea would then, in that tradition, would be, say, to bring out, an oboe part or a flute part, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just so interesting that something that's been out of print for 200 years is finding its way back through your work.
Circulation.
It must feel really interesting and exciting.
Yeah, I'm really thrilled because, as you say, I'm really excited about this project, and I really love this music, and I wanted to get out there.
So who's the target market for these pieces? I mean, would you love to see them performed at stages all over the world, or in universities, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the difficulty levels, I mean, some of them are a little harder than others, but in terms of, amateur, professional, so in universities and, in the major concert halls, I think they're particularly, der Herrlichste von allen is a great one to program with the Sei dich gesehen. The Shepherd and the Mermaid's a wonderful showpiece. I mean, they're lovely pieces. The Schweizer's Heimweh has the highest note I've ever seen in a lead. It's got a top D in it. It also has an optional low note, but there's some interesting things about these works. I think they're a great standard, and I think they'll get great play once people know that they're there.
I think it adds an exciting element for students, though, with recital programming. I mean, some people and even teachers, I suppose, sometimes get a little weary with the standard repertoire.
Same old. Absolutely.
Yeah, and this is a great way to include something from the Romantic era that really is kind of new again. So
absolutely.
A lot of people really struggle with trying to they almost include too much new music sometimes. I mean, I was probably a little bit guilty of that, but it's because I wanted fresh things, and here's some fresh stuff that's kind of been rediscovered after all these years.
And in terms of, exam recitals, that sort of thing is absolutely perfect for that as well. Yeah.
Well, and for university students, just a little tip out there, if you need it, or a little kind of thought to get you going, is when you play a piece like this on your recital with the soprano, it's kind of does double duty. You both practice and rehearse, and you can use it on everyone's recital, most likely, if it's suitable. I mean, both parts probably have to be equally impressive, but as a chamber element, if you require that, I think it'd be a really great thing.
Yeah, I mean, der Herrlichste von allen and the Schweizers, particularly the Hirt und das Meer vibe, has long recitative sections, lots of opportunity for, for coloring. So that's, great. That'd be a great showpiece for recital.
So if anyone is interested in purchasing these, like let's say you're planning a recital or you'd love to get your hands on this, how can they go about doing that from the website directly? Is there a way to do that yet, or is it coming?
It's coming. Yeah, we're actually in the final stages of putting that together, but it will be chromaeditions.com. And there'll be download versions and you can buy hard copy versions. We've got the sheets for each individual part on A3 paper, so you don't have to turn it over, which is one thing that really frustrates friends of mine, always having to turn them over. But we're also branching out into a number of different stores. So at the moment, we're only in a couple of stores in America and Canada, loads of stores in the UK and a couple in Australia. So we'll be expanding that as well. So there'll be information about stockists on the website, chromaeditions.com as well.
So if you'd like to purchase the CD, where is it available? You mentioned a worldwide release. Is it also available digitally?
It is available digitally on iTunes as well. Absolutely. You can listen to it on Spotify. It's a Signum release, so that's absolutely all over the world.
Yeah, it's a big label. So Spotify, iTunes, you can find it on there. Yeah, Google, Amazon, everywhere. I would encourage people to purchase either a digital or physical copy, of course, instead of Spotify or Apple Music. But if you do, want to just have a quick taste, that is a great way. But it always is best to support the artists by actually purchasing the CD.
Yeah, there's great notes in there as well. We've got a really wonderful musicologist who's put together some fantastic notes about the composers and the works and a bit of a history of the style of the period. So, yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, I've got it in my hand here, actually. There's a 27-page booklet with the CD with full information about it at the front, translations, and some nice pictures in here. All kinds of stuff. So it looks like you actually have a second album here called Jewels of the Bel Canto. What can you tell me about that?
Oh yeah, that came out a couple of years ago with Richard Bonning. I don't know if you know, bel canto specialist in the Royal Northern Symphony Orchestra. We did like a whole range of different arias, like bel canto arias from Donizetti, Bellini, Rossini. Some of them, again, with the rare, some of them very rare, and some of them really popular. So yeah, that came out a couple of years ago. That was great fun, actually.
And it looks like this was your debut album, and you got a 5-star rating from Limelight Magazine. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So Eleanor, you've been so generous on the podcast today, and I have a signed copy of this brand new CD to give away to a Clarineat listener anywhere in the world. What would you say to the person who gets to win this album?
Just enjoy. We've had a great time putting it together. There's lots of little, funky gems on there, things that you won't have heard before, and just I hope you really enjoy listening to it. It's a joy to produce, and we hope you love it. So
where can we find you personally online? Do you have a website?
I do, yeah. It's www.elenaxan.com.
Perfect.
That surname, that couldn't be on a website. That's too long.
So, of course, I'll include all this in the show notes there. Have you also got a Facebook page people can follow? Or
Absolutely. We have a Facebook page for Chroma Editions, for Elena Xanthidakis fan page. We also have Trio Chroma. We have the Mermaid Trio. I'll send you all the links. That's
fantastic. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing this amazing story with us. I hope that a lot of clarinet players have the chance to try out this repertoire and listen to this repertoire, and that it makes its way into the standards for the clarinet going forward.
In the standards, that's what we want. We want this stuff played. We want it out there. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for having me today.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the Clarineat audience before we wrap up?
No, just keep playing. Keep playing, guys.
Absolutely. We will. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, Elena.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Sanding, shaping, balancing. For centuries, mastering your instrument meant mastering these crafts too. But now, D'Addario is refining craftsmanship for the 21st century by refining their reeds and mouthpieces with the world's most innovative techniques, so you can spend less time sanding, shaping, and balancing, and more time perfecting your own craft. To learn more about the new era of craftsmanship from D'Addario Woodwinds, visit D'Addario.com/woodwinds.